Hey everyone, today for O8 On, we're going to be discussing O8 On upgrading to Drupal 9. So I am joined by Tyler. We've been getting a lot of questions about this. Drupal just made a couple new announcements regarding Drupal 7 end of life, Drupal 8 end of life, what to expect from D9. So let's talk about it. First and foremost, Tyler, can I keep my website on Drupal 7 or an older version, or do I really need to go through with this upgrade?
Yeah, so Drupal 7 got extended to November 2022 for its end of life. That gives a lot of organizations a significantly larger amount of time to make that move over. That also then poses a new question: can't I just stay on this a little bit longer? Defer that cost, especially given everything that's going on with the economy right now. While the extra year does buy you more time, really what we're finding is that a lot of organizations have been putting this off already, and it could extend timelines for your migrations, but oftentimes those take a lot longer than groups think they will, and it's not going to be great to keep your site on Drupal 7 long term. There will be paid support, extended support beyond that time frame, but really at that point you're just going to be paying for extended support and increasing the cost of something that you're going to have to do anyways eventually. Not to mention the fact that the usefulness and utility of that site is going to slowly become degraded over time. The modules and things that folks have been supporting on Drupal 7, they're shifting more to Drupal 8 and really Drupal 9 readiness of those. And so they're discontinuing support for Drupal 7 on a lot of the popular modules. So as support for those continues to dwindle, especially looking into 2022, it's really going to be pushing a lot of sites that would otherwise probably like to stay on Drupal 7 and defer that cost a little bit longer. It's going to be pushing them onto Drupal 8 and 9 and making that really critical to continue the functionality of the site.
So that being said, Drupal 9 was released on June 3rd of this year, 2020. So can I just upgrade to that version? Can I jump from D7 to D9, or do I need to upgrade to Drupal 8 first?
Yeah, you certainly could make that jump. And if you've got an experienced enough Drupal developer on staff or working with a good partner who knows what they're doing and have gone through that update process before, then you certainly could. It might make sense to wait for shorter term projects, but for longer term projects, you might want to start on Drupal 9. It's really going to come down to deciding what the right amount of lead time is and when your project is going to be wrapped up. My primary concern with jumping to Drupal 9 right away is that while it is out of beta and it's gone through vetting in a release candidate, it still is quite new and it's stable, but a lot of the really important projects or modules that extend Drupal's core functionality, those things that you rely on probably for the fancier or more complex functions of your site, those are just starting to become Drupal 9 compatible. There's a really great resource that Acquia has pulled together to kind of keep track of all of the Drupal 9 compatibility statuses for all those different projects. Keeping an eye on that and identifying what things you rely on in your site is going to be especially important, given that Drupal 9 deprecates several features, especially around like JavaScript APIs and Twig markup, which handles the theme. Furthermore, while a module may be marked as D9 compatible, that doesn't mean that it's stable. A lot of the projects that are marked as compatible with Drupal 9, like Workbench, which we and others rely on for content moderation and workflows, that's still in an alpha state at this point, and lots of others are as well. We generally don't recommend going to production or to a live site with a project that is in alpha state, just because it's still unstable. Usually they're working out quite a few bugs still at that point. So if the modules that you rely on for your site are still in that stage, we recommend waiting on Drupal 8. And once those modules that you rely on become more stable in a beta or preferably a release candidate version, then upgrade to Drupal 9. That's going to make for a lot smoother project. It's going to help you reduce costs and just yield overall better results.
Okay, so this migration sounds like a pretty big process that I need an agency partner for. So what types of questions should I ask a developer to determine if they're a good fit to help with this Drupal migration?
It's a great question. Asking about past Drupal 6 to Drupal 8 or Drupal 7 to Drupal 8 migrations is a great way to gauge depth of experience. Follow-up questions from there could include lessons learned from past migrations, asking the developer to share with you any artifacts that may have resulted from those migrations as a demonstration of that expertise, making sure that it's just not talk, that they actually have done the work, and digging into process and things like that. One of the big differentiators, though, that we've seen is complexity and scale of those past projects. We've rescued a lot of wayward Drupal migrations because the previous developer didn't understand the intricacies involved with migrations that have lots of interrelated content types and paragraphs. With these large and complex sites, the programmatic migrations can take a lot of planning and experience to do well, and even more planning to ensure that the resulting new Drupal 8 or Drupal 9 site is performant. Too often, those project rescues, they were engineered poorly and often on outdated models that resulted in the same performance issues folks were seeing with their old Drupal 6 or Drupal 7 implementations. So they weren't really gaining anything. Spent a lot of money, but they still have a slow site. By ensuring the content structures are built from the ground up for performance and that they're adhering to that Drupal 8 and Drupal 9 best practice, so leveraging all the different layers of caching, the new twig functionalities in templating engines, we're able to deliver those large, really complex sites that fully leverage all of those features, especially in the caching area and some of those other performance enhancements.
So speaking of enhancements, what differences and benefits will I see from this upgrade to Drupal 9?
Yeah, so just spoke about the performance enhancements, but another big improvement is going to be in user experience area for content contributors. This is going to be a significant upgrade from, especially if you're stuck on Drupal 6. It's going to be a lot more in line with more modern content management systems, thinking like WordPress here. And it's going to be prettier too, to be honest. I know that that's not a very objective word, but a lot of folks want to have just a pretty thing to look at. And it's mobile friendly too. So that allows for a lot more flexibility in where folks can be creating content as well, especially given the shift to remote work. One other big piece here is future upgrade paths. They're going to be smoother and much less expensive. Again, more in line with what you would see or expect from content management system like WordPress, where it's more or less one or a few clicks to move up to the next version.
So it sounds like once I make this upgrade, it can be pretty self-sustainable, or do I need to keep an agency developer on hand for content updates, improvements, things like that?
Those types of things are going to be a lot easier and much less expensive moving forward from Drupal 8 onward. One thing that organizations often overlook with migrations or replatforms is the internal cost of retraining staff that come with those projects. Usually there's a pretty big change to the user interface and folks get confused. You move the cheese. Going forward, Drupal will be moving on to a small iteration path where users are going to be much more able to adapt to those small changes, greatly then reducing the amount of time and money associated with retraining over the long term. And along that same vein, while those future upgrades will be much easier, we do still recommend going through thorough, industry best practice processes for QA prior to launching or deploying those updates. This wouldn't be really any different than any other content management system, including WordPress, although a lot of folks do just click update on their prod site. That scares the heck out of me. If you don't feel comfortable doing that type of work yourself, or you don't have those internal resources with that expertise, you can certainly rely on an external partner to do that. But the amount of time that that partner would need to spend on those upgrades is going to be greatly reduced, significantly less than what it would have been with past versions of Drupal. Again, more in line with what you would expect to see with just regular monthly maintenance of your site.
Well, this sounds like this upgrade is going to be super awesome for organizations. Everyone should go ahead and get started. Don't put off the inevitable. Feel free to ask us any questions. And thanks, Tyler. That was super helpful.